honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
All right, we're back. This is our third segment on a Saturday morning, and we've covered a lot of ground this morning. Hopefully we've educated and informed some of you about what's going on in your world. We also want to raise awareness about the things that are affecting your life day in and day out. And in line with that, I've asked Deb Slack to join with us this morning and to have a discussion with us in which she will bring us up to speed on some of the events and things that are happening at Ozark Self-Reliant Living University. Deb is a friend of ours, a strong and relentless supporter of liberty and freedom and our republic, and you won't find somebody who works harder or more tirelessly for your benefit than Mike and Debbie. And you just have to understand that these people do this at their own cost and expense, their own time frame. They work tirelessly to bring to you knowledge and education and things that will benefit you. And I invite you to participate and listen up with us this morning and then attend some of these different programs because they're meant and designed for you. If you don't show up, it's wasted effort. If you show up, you gain an enormous amount of knowledge for virtually nothing other than your time. So, good morning, Deb. Thank you for taking the time to join with us.
Oh, good morning, Mike. It's great to be here.
You know, you are perhaps one of the people that I respect the most because your effort and your work are so tireless to try to, help drag us kicking and screaming into the areas that we need to be focusing on, like self-reliance and the ability to be self-sufficient in our day in and day out lives so that we're preparing for what we all know to be coming. I mean, everybody knows that small voice in the back of everyone's mind is screaming, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." And I'm so impressed with what you and Mike do, and you and Dawn Jotz and Kevin Jotz along the lines of all of these classes and educational things that you guys put on. And now OSLU, you have these day-long preparedness workshops that you do on a fairly routine basis, but you also have classes running every weekend. You've got Saturday, May 4th and May 18th and May 19th. You have gardening events going on at the 4th is at Willow Springs, the 18th is in Koshkonong, and the 19th is at the Seventh-day Adventist Church in West Plains. Now, these are the same programs, right?
That is correct.
But you're just doing them in 3 locations so people don't have to travel.
Right.
Hey, people.
This is the gardening class part 2. Part 1 was in March where I discussed how to start your garden plants from seed. And then this is part 2, where we get into the nuts and bolts of gardening. And then
you have an advanced gardening program that starts
the advanced gardening program is in June, and that finishes up gardening, and then we move into canning and freezing, dehydrating, and that sort of thing.
Sure. So after you've had an opportunity to learn how to garden, you've started the garden and got it moving, and now you're learning the advanced processes of gardening.
That's correct.
Then, in July, you've got classes on what do you do with it after you pick it.
Exactly. You bring in this stuff by the bushel load, and it's like, what do I do?
Now what do I do?
Yeah.
How do I make sure all of that work and effort has not gone to naught, right? So
exactly.
You teach them how to can it, how to preserve it, how to store it. And, these are the kinds of skills which, our grandparents had because back in the Great Depression days, they knew how to do these things, and most Americans were subsistence farmers. Even people who there were no suburbs, right? You had cities and you had rural, and most everybody knew how to grow something. I mean, unless they lived in a city, they knew how to grow something, and the vast majority of America at that point really didn't necessarily live in cities. Their benefit was that they lived in the country. Even if the country was just outside the city, and everybody had a garden. right?
Well, most people in town even had a garden, what they called a kitchen garden.
Sure. And listen, all we have to do is look back as far as World War II and remember the old Victory Gardens, right?
Right.
I mean, everybody was encouraged to grow a garden. Nowadays, they don't encourage that because Monsanto doesn't want you to do that, and they own the government. So, and if not Monsanto, it's ConAgra, and if it's not them, it's DuPont, right?
Right.
Somebody has always got their finger into your personal business in the gardening realm.
Yeah, if you want to be a true rebel, a true anarchist, just grow a garden.
I like it.
Talk about a slap in the face to imperialism and monarchies, right? Just grow a garden.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about the classes that you're running right now, because you've got these running on May 4th and 18th and 19th of May.
Right.
And so these are gardening part 2. So the first part 1 was let's break open the soil and figure out how to make it serviceable, right, by putting in fertilizer and what have you. Gardening throughout May is gardening part 2, and give us a little bit of a preview of what that entails.
Well, we're going to talk about such things as how to make seed tape to make your seeds last longer and go further, how deeply to plant your seed. Most people, when they plant seed and they can't figure out why the seed doesn't come up, it's because they're planting it too deeply. What to enrich your soil with, how to use what you have on hand instead of going out and buying a lot of things. I only garden organically. I know absolutely nothing about chemicals. My mother taught me many years ago to garden organically, and if you want to talk chemicals, you'll have to go to somebody else.
Right.
And that includes bug sprays and all that. I just don't know anything about that. I have a funny story.
Sure. Do you work with some kind of insect protection? I mean, do you have some home remedies to? I mean, yes. I've heard all kinds of things like you can take tobacco and you can soak it in water and turn it into like a tobacco juice, if you will, and then squirt it directly on the plants, which of course doesn't hurt humans, but in the long term will get rid of bugs and things like that. Or I've soap and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I don't recommend tobacco because it comes with
all the chemicals that are in the tobacco, right?
Yeah.
I got you.
And to tobacco itself, yes, it will kill bugs, but it doesn't limit itself to the bad bugs. It kills everything.
Good point.
And,
okay.
What you want to do is, over time, is to encourage your garden to start drawing in beneficial insects, which will fight off the bad bugs. And so you'll have this battle between the good bugs and the bad bugs, and they will duke it out amongst themselves, and you're pretty much a non-involvement as long as you don't disturb that balance.
Gotcha.
And
as long as they're not bed bugs.
So it's a balancing act, and it takes years to get there, and it all starts with the soil.
Right.
And that's going to be a big focus of what we'll talk about.
Marjorie Wildcraft, I met her for dinner one night.
Her.
And she said to me that most of the time your insect problems can actually be resolved by making sure that your soil is properly prepared. Because
that's exactly right.
When your soil is properly geared and set up right, the bad bugs won't generate in it. And so, and if they do, you simply take, let's say you're growing tomatoes on one end, and if you have a bug problem, the next season don't grow there. Grow on the other side of the garden where those tomato bugs aren't, and you won't have to fight them again next year, kind of thing. So, her idea was that, if your soil is properly prepared, and you've done the right things in the beginning from a preparatory standpoint, you can eliminate a lot of your bug problems right up front.
Right. If your soil is fertile and enriched and alive. See, that's the problem with so many gardens because they use chemical fertilizers. The soil is basically dead.
Dead, yeah.
And there's not the bacteria and the enzymes and the beneficial elements in the soil to ward off an attack. And a lot of reason the bugs come in is the fact that the plants themselves are not healthy.
Right.
And they're not healthy because they don't get anything healthy out of the soil. And so your gardening starts with the soil, and there's so many very easy things that you can do to improve your soil without having to go in and buy a lot of expensive bags and bags of stuff.
Sure.
And
Which kind of defeats the whole point of organics anyway, right?
Yes.
I mean,
everybody who takes my class, the first thing they're going to hear from me is, do not ever come up to me and say I use Miracle Grow, because, oh my gosh, I will have to go off on a rant on you.
And folks, let me tell you, I've heard Debbie's rants. You don't want one of those.
Is that the specific Miracle Grow rant?
Yes. Yeah, and it will. There's a possibility it will go on for a while.
A distinct possibility.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I know Debbie personally. She's tiny, but she's when the rant goes off, boy, let me tell you something. She's a powerhouse. So, yeah, ignore the Miracle Grow commercials that you see on TV and the mind-altering crap that they're feeding you, and listen to Debbie's classes and understand. Or give her a call and get an education about what you can do to prepare your soil the right way first. One, you'll save yourself a lot of time and grief and aggravation. Two, you'll make your garden grow properly. And three, you'll save yourself the Debbie rant.
Exactly. It's not a pretty picture.
Hey, Debbie, Mike Walters, listen, I got a question for you. When you do the canning and pickling and you talk about making jellies and jams and doing all that kind of stuff, okay?
Right.
Does that involve using a pressure cooker?
Yes. Part of it.
So everybody better get their pressure cookers now.
That's right, because they're going to outlaw them. Did you know, by the way, a couple of stores have already said they're not going to sell them anymore?
No. Oh, good grief.
I kid you not. Their stores, not only that, a manufacturer, and I can't think of who it was now, said that they're no longer going to make them.
No way.
I swear to God. I saw it on an article the other day.
Get them while you can.
That's exactly right.
I mean, how insane is that?
It's insane.
We're going to stop making pressure cookers because two guys used them.
Two guys from another country.
Right. I mean, shameful. Anyway.
Well, the reason they do that is just one more step to take away our ability to take care of ourselves.
Right, and they're using it as an excuse. They're exploiting a tragedy to limit our freedoms and liberties. And boy, if that's not an example of government in full-blown action, I don't know what is. We got a break coming up, and I'm going to ask you to stick with us during this break. When we come back, I want to hear that story you were going to tell us.
Okay.
Okay. Folks, you can, Deb, do you want to give out your phone number where the people can call if they've got questions about classes that you're holding? It's 417-264 2435. 2435, right. Write that down, and you can also get a hold of her at Deb at OSLUniversity.com. We're going to be back in just a moment, and we'll repeat that information, so go get a pen and paper during this commercial break.
I'm going
right back. You're what?
I'm going out and buy a pressure cooker today.
We'll be back in a minute.
If you're looking for a new or used pistol, shotgun, or rifle, West Plains Pawn & Gun has over 450 firearms in stock. All your favorite models like Beretta, Glock, Smith & Wesson, Kimber, and many, many more. West Plains Pawn & Gun is also a Class 3 arms dealer, so if they don't have it on the shelf, West Plains Pawn & Gun can order it for you. Even those hard-to-get guns. West Plains Pawn & Gun, 1713 U.S. Highway 160 West in West Plains, or online at westplainspawn.com.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call ahead 255-2253. Be sure to like and follow Chantilly's Artisan Bakery on Facebook.
All right, we're back. That was a quick break, and appreciative of the fast breaks. We're joined this morning by Deb Slack. Debbie is the creator and the purveyor of Ozark Self-Reliant University.com. And Ozark Self-Reliant University. You can reach Deb via email at deb at OSL, like Oscar Sierra Lima, university.com. And that's an email address for her. And you can also call her at 417-264-2435. Now, all these classes that you're running operate from 1 to 3 p.m. So it's and they're all on Saturdays or weekend days, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's no excuse for you not to be able to put your time aside in advance, knowing that you're going to be able to teach yourself. And I would encourage you to not only just go by yourself, but to bring your family with you. If you've got, children that are old enough to help, what a great opportunity to do a family project where the kids can get involved, put their fingers and their little toes into the dirt, which kids love to do anyway, but feel like they're actually doing something that benefits the whole family and make a family project out of it. So I applaud you for what you're doing. But, folks, it's up to you to attend and show up for these classes. And so make sure that you do. What is the cost, Deb? Is there any?
No, the classes are always free.
Wow, it's mind-boggling, people. If you don't show up for a free class that teaches you something that's a lifelong skill, you're a darn fool. Okay, you had a story you were going to tell us, and I'm kind of you piqued my interest. So,
well, I started gardening when I was 4 years old, and I asked my mom. I said, "Can I have a little patch of dirt?" Because I wanted to plant seeds like she did. Yeah. Well, she gave me radish seeds and bean seed and some marigolds, and there was one or two little other things. And I was so very proud of them. I put the seeds in just like she told me. I was so very proud. And then she said I had to wait for the seeds to come up, and so I waited, an hour. And I waited a day, and finally I couldn't stand it any longer. And I said, "Mom, when are these seeds going to come up?" And she said, "You have to wait. They'll come up in their own time." And so the next day went by, and I just couldn't stand it anymore. So I went in the house, and I got a spoon, and I dug up the seeds to see if they had sprouted yet. And that was my first gardening lesson, is that things come to fruition in their own time, and you can't rush things.
Right.
So she laughed at me and she chuckled, and what we did was the bean seeds that I dug up, which had started sprouting, we talked about that, and so the ones that we could replant, we did, and then she gave me a few more seeds to replace the ones that were beyond hope. And I learned such a valuable lesson, and I understood at that point, in my 4-year-old way, what the miracle of life and what the miracle of growing things was all about, because I could see how the seed had changed in just a few days. And I was heartbroken that I had killed some of my baby seeds. But then again, I learned so much that lesson has stuck with me my whole life.
Sure.
And basically has been the foundation of my gardening ever since.
Wow, that's an impressive tale. And it's so appropriate that we have these skills that are passed on from folks like you to knuckleheads and knuckle draggers like me who, I got a thumb as black as midnight. I struggle to grow. And to be honest, I'm so very busy trying to make a living. I get caught up in that, and I don't necessarily get a chance to do those things that I know I should do. And, I've got to really apply myself more to that as well. But going to a class like this is motivating and educational enough to take a plugger like myself and say, okay, I know what I need to do now. Because, honestly, I get to the point where I don't know how to get the soil prepared and so forth. I mean, I can dig it up, but after that, what do you got to put in it to really make it, really prepare it, as we talked about in the first segment, right? And so I think there's a lot of us out there who really don't have that basic understanding. And even if they've missed that first class that you're running, on gardening. In other words, gardening part 1, right? Going to gardening part 2, it's not hard for them to catch up. Is it too late for us to plant?
Oh, goodness, no. Now, because we've had such a cold spring, now is the time to really get the ground ready. Well, let it dry out first. And,
it's been raining pretty heavily, which thank God it has. We really needed the rain, but
never say, "Oh, I wish it wouldn't rain," because it just might not.
Right, we had that last year, right?
Yes, that was enough for.
I don't know about you, but I was ready to go out and see if I could hire some rain dancers to bring them in and port them in and let them do their thing, because it was bad last year. We can't afford another year like that.
I lost my asparagus last year.
Really?
Broke my heart.
Oh, darn.
Obviously not an asparagus fan.
Debbie, I got a question for you,
Sure.
and I'm talking ignorance, boy, because my parents used to have like a giant garden and that kind of stuff. But do you plant when you plant your garden? Do you plant along with the vegetables in the same garden? Do you plant any flowers?
Oh, always.
See now.
So now why, though, Deb?
I'm not trying to give things away, but explain it to me.
Well, you plant flowers, one, because it brings joy to the garden. It gives you something beautiful to look at. Flowers in the garden just make me happy.
Okay.
That's one. Two,
For a cynical bunch like Mike and I, that's probably not a bad thing.
yeah, exactly. Well, two is they invite pollinators and beneficial bugs to come in your garden. They give the beneficial bugs a home, and they give them food.
Sure.
And I like to grow a large variety of different flowers, zinnias and marigolds and cosmos and just sunflowers, just anything like that that's easy to grow, but colorful and adds energy and life to the garden besides just your garden plants.
And for those practical people out there, the key operative phrase was it brings the right kind of good bugs.
Yes.
Because, to me, I understand the idea of going out and looking at the flowers and they're pretty, but then I'm, the practical side of me, the analytical side kicks in and says, okay, but what else do they do? There's got to be some value to that.
Well,
and the value is it brings beneficial bugs.
Well, you can
and it brings pollinators. That's the real kicker, right?
Right. Yeah. Actually, they also add another food source because marigolds you can eat in salads.
Sure.
And clover is
right.
another one, and there's
even dandelions.
Exactly. And
just don't wait. Just get them before they get puffy.
Yeah, then you're eating a seed, and they they don't taste as good.
So
it's important to have a variety of plants in the garden, and that you do that. And this is just barely touching the subject, but companion planting, where if you plant plants together that kind of like each other, they form a kind of a
symbiotic relationship kind of thing.
Yes, it's kind of like a force field almost. They what they do is they empower each other, and they can help fight off bugs better. That's on a very elementary level.
And also, or bring in the right kind of pollinator that will pollinate both different species, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, I get the idea that just makes total sense, And, man, if there's one thing we're lacking in today's world, it's common sense, right?
Yes.
I mean, everybody's got some crazy convoluted idea when just good old common sense says, well, if you plant these two things together, they work together, one shields the other from this bad bug, and they also bring in the right pollinator.
Yeah.
So,
Debbie, I got a question. Do you keep bees also?
No, we don't. That's the next thing on our list to do. We're going to be putting in a little bit later this year in the fall. We're putting in a small orchard, and the bees will come next.
Sure, because you've got to have them if you're going to.
But if you want to know about raising bees, I have the person for you to call.
See that? What a resource!
Yes, she is our bee person. She teaches our bee classes and is wonderful. She is very, very knowledgeable. Her name is Kim Douglas. She lives right here in Thayer.
Okay.
And she works at the Chevrolet.
Outstanding.
I just went to the Howell County Beekeepers meeting, this last meeting, and I was blown away by the amount of information that they put out. I was like,
right. It's almost information overload, right?
Yeah.
The value of having your own bees, especially in an orchard or if you've got a fairly significant garden, can't be stressed enough, because right now you've got Roundup, which is the product that Monsanto puts out, which is killing bees in droves, and that's what's causing our beehives to die. And without beehives, we're in big, big trouble.
Well, if all the bees die, we have about 3 years left on this earth.
There you go. That's a scary thought, right?
It is very scary. And Bayer Company, that is one of the leading causes of the nicotine-based pesticide, which kills the bees, and it has caused the colony collapse disorder.
Gotcha.
And it's horrible what it's doing, and I don't understand it. Why are people still buying this?
No idea, because television tells them to. We're going to take a quick break. Deb's going to stick with us through the break, and when we come back, we can take some phone calls from some folks that are interested or have a question directly. We'll be back in just a moment. Hang on with us. This is America's Voice Now.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. In the Boston Marathon bombing case, FBI agents picking through a landfill near where suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev went to school.
Well, the working theory among investigators is that one or both of the Tsarnaev brothers triggered the detonation using speed controllers. Fox News is told a third party in the crowd has not been ruled out, though there is no evidence suggesting a third party at this time.
Fox's Catherine Herridge. In California, a bill passed by the state assembly would allow non-citizen legal residents on juries.
The bill's main sponsor says it will not only ensure there are enough people to serve on juries, but will also help integrate immigrants into American society. Most Assembly Republicans voted no on this bill. Their arguments vary. One assemblyman said it's not fair to be judged by someone who's had a different cultural experience. One anti-illegal immigration group says the focus should be on getting those who live here legally to become citizens.
Fox Radio's Jessica Rosenthal. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Visit our outstanding sponsors, West Plains Pawn, located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. West Plains Pawn can be found on the web at westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them via telephone at 417-256-3000. The battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. They can be reached via telephone at 417-257-7799. They can also be found on the web at batterystation.com. My friends at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. Brian can be reached at 870-492-4030, and he's located at 3225 Route 62, 1/2 mile east of Walmart in Mountain Home. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. They have an outstanding lunch special buffet. You can have salad as well as pizza and other pasta, so you can have something tasty and something healthy. Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 2930116. Bill Stone does remodeling, custom and new construction, light commercial, farm work, pretty much the gamut. If you're interested in doing some kind of a new project, make sure that you give Bill Stone at Stone Construction an opportunity to bid on that job. And my dear friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade, right off the square in West Plains. She can be reached via telephone at 255-2253. She's got the best damn bakery in 100 miles. And thanks so much to our phone line sponsor, Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop. You can call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. He is on the square in West Plains. Excellent opportunity for you to get your hair cut. Get over there and visit.
We're made to look like we don't have a heart, that we don't care. Have courage and have faith and stand and do the right thing. Hopefully, the rest of the country will come around. But somebody has to say the hard thing. We have to do the right thing, even though it may be painful for all of us.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Weekdays from 2 to 5, it's Glenn Beck on the Ozark's Best News Talk 107.1.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, well, we're going to wake up to showers and possibly a thunderstorm before 1 o'clock, high near 64 degrees. Later on, a very good chance of showers, mainly before 1 in the morning, a low around 49. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
The further we reach out, the closer we all become. Hey, it's Nate Cooper here with the Ozark's Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. I invite you to join us Sunday mornings. The program is a combination of local and national known speakers. So I encourage you to do two things. Listen in on Sunday mornings from 8 until noon and find out how you can become a sponsor of one of the programs. Just call our offices at 255-0427. Beyond the Point, Sundays on the Ozark's Best News Talk 107.1.
All right, we are returning. Please make sure that you're supporting our folks and our friends over at West Plains Pawn and Gun. They are a real great supporter of ours, and we appreciate the effort and the time that they put forth to put out a great product. Our friends over at there can be found at on Route 160 in West Plains, 256-3000. Our friends over at the battery station at 257-7799, 257-7799, thebatterystation.com. You can also, by the way, you heard me rant about antidepressants last week, or earlier this week. If you have an antidepressant that you're taking right now, do yourself and please do the rest of us a favor and get off of those. And the one way that you can do that is call Kevin down there and at 257-7799. He has got a product down there that helps you flush and cleanse your body of that antidepressant faster. I'm no doctor, and I know somebody called up and said, is he practicing medicine without a license? No, I'm just giving you a common sense reality check. If you're on an antidepressant, it's bending your mind. Get off of it. And the first thing that you need to do is cut yourself down. Knock your dosage in half and half again and half again until you get to the point where you can get off of it. Don't cold turkey it. That's when you get those psychotic episodes. But call Kevin over at the battery station. He's got a product for you that you absolutely got to take. If you got kids on that stuff, get them off of it. 257-7799. Bill Stone, a buddy of mine over at Stone Construction, who does all kinds of remodeling, new and light construction, new homes, new construction remodels, etc. He can be reached at 293-0116. Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. Brian down there in Mountain Home is a good friend of ours, big supporter of this program, and he can be reached at 870-492-4030. He's a half mile east of Walmart on Route 62, and they have a lot of products down there for food, freeze-dried food products and things like that, natural heirloom seeds, all kinds of stuff. And also Chantilly's Artisan Bakery. My friend Mary over there, who is really, really a great supporter of our program. She is such a good gal. Best damn bakery you're going to find in 100 miles, guaranteed. So if you can get over to Mary, she is at number 2 Evans Arcade. And no, they didn't name it after me. And you can also call her by telephone at 255-2253. She has these awesome lunch specials. You got to try them out. Okay, so Deb, thank you again for joining with us. And
well, thank you for having me.
Oh, listen, what a pleasure, because you are a fount of knowledge for those of us who are bankrupt of it. And I freely admit I'm one of them, Dawn Johnson is doing a cheese making class today, right?
That's correct.
And that's going to be at BB Road Fire Department. And if you're interested in attending that, do you know what time that starts?
I believe it's either 9 or 10.
Okay, so if you haven't gotten on the road,
I have her phone number.
Yeah, it's 270-0594, right?
That's correct.
417-270-0594. If you want to learn how to make your own cheese, wow, what a great opportunity for you to take advantage of this. I don't think, is there a charge for that? It's like $10 or something, right?
Yeah, it's $10. Now, Dawn is a real expert on the subject, and it's incredible and makes incredible cheese. So if you want to learn to make cheese, that is the place to be. She's going to have another cheese class later. Later in the year, she teaches my cheese classes, too, usually in November. So there's going to be several classes throughout the year. So if you miss this one, just make it, schedule it when the next one comes around. But if you possibly can, definitely go today and hit her class. You will never eat anything like her cheese. Oh, my goodness.
Well, not to mention the fact that, boy, cheese is really, especially if you make it yourself, and if you have raw milk or access to raw milk, you can use that too. And, you're not going to sell it, so you won't end up in the Morningland dairy scenario. But, you can make it for yourself and use it for your family and, you actually know what's in the product that you're eating, right?
Yeah.
And cheese is really healthful for you, especially if you you make it from raw milk products. And, I strongly encourage you to participate in that. Not to mention the fact that Dawn is just an enormous power and a patriot for America. So if you can participate in that, it's the cheese-making class at BB Road Fire Department. Again, the phone number is 417-270-0594. If you can't make this class, then give her a call anyway and find out when the next class is going to be and attend it. So we've got a caller, I think, with a question. Can we take a few calls? Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yes. You wouldn't happen to have a list of the courses that you're teaching by chance?
Yeah, we read them out earlier, and I'll give them to you again. The Ozark Self-Reliant Living University on May 4th and May 18th and May 19th, this is Gardening Part 2. So on the 4th, it's going to be held in Willow Springs at the Ferguson Building. On Saturday, May 18th, it's going to be also Gardening Part 2 at Koshkonong Senior Center. And then on Sunday, May 19th, it's going to be held at the Next Step Seventh-day Adventist Church in West Plains up on Route 63. Now, on June 8th, it's Advanced Gardening, which would really, I guess, be Gardening Part 3, right, Deb?
That's correct.
Gardening Part 3, June 8th at Willow Springs Ferguson Building. June 15th in the Koshkonong Senior Center. And June 16th, again, at the Next Step Seventh-day Adventist Church in West Plains. Then in July, on the 6th, is, okay, now you've grown it. Now what do I do with it? This is called the canning class.
That's correct.
Now that you have a pile of it, we're going to teach you what to do with it. And that's going to be held on July 6th at the Willow Springs Ferguson Building, July 13 at the Koshkonong Senior Center, and July 14 at the Next Step Seventh-day Adventist Church. And these are all from 1 to 3 p.m. The phone number, if you want to get more information or directions to any one of those locations, is 417-264-2435. Now, you do these classes every month on all different kinds of heritage, kind of topics, including gardening, canning, freezing, dehydrating, cheese making, yogurt making, bread making, soap.
Making your own laundry soap.
Laundry
bath soap.
And bath soap.
Medicinal vinegars, medicinal tinctures, how to stock your own medicine chest.
Sure.
I mean, just
healthy living on herbs and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So, people, you cannot find a better resource than Deb for this stuff. And even if she doesn't teach the class, what she does do is bring in an expert or a subject matter expert in that particular field, and they teach the class. So, if you ignore a resource like this, you're making a serious mistake. And I can't encourage you enough. And tell you more seriously to take advantage of these courses than I'm doing now. If you're not willing to participate, you're making a mistake. So, did that answer your question, caller?
Yes, it does. And of course, you've generated some spin-off classes off of that I don't necessarily know if they put on the curriculum, but like the ham radio class I'm currently taking.
Right, the ham radio.
As a matter of fact, yeah.
And the beekeeping.
And the beekeeping, and you've got other things that I guess spin off of that stuff.
Sure. Listen, folks, that's what this is about. Education, information, motivation, and activation, right? I rail about the activate part, but, you also have to be informed, and this is how you do it. So, hey, thank you for that call. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike. I wanted to ask her a couple of questions, and I'll hang up so she can answer them.
Okay.
I understand that you can make a leaf brew of elderberry and use that as an insecticide. And number two, if your freezer goes out, I understand that the best way to preserve your meat quickly and save it is to have a pressure canner and pressure can your meat. And you can also can butter, I understand. So anyway, thank you for your trouble and your time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, sweetie. Deb, can you tackle those two things, the elderberry leaf brew and pressure canning without a freezer, or for use without a freezer? And then I have a question that pressure canning brought to mind, which is, do you do a class, or do you know someone that does a class on how to preserve meat with salt?
I do a class.
How did I know that?
Yes, canning meat.
And I didn't know that, but how did I know that was good, that you would know how to do that?
That is included in the canning class, and we spend quite a bit of time talking about it.
Okay.
Canning meat is very, very easy, and there's all different recipes that you can use. You can can meatloaf.
Come on.
No, I'm serious. You can can, various kinds of sweet and sour chicken, and there's all a huge variety.
When you talk about canning, that's like that's like that's like trying to explain space travel to a Neanderthal. You know, I mean,
well,
it's such a foreign topic. It scares me. You know.
Let's talk about nuclear fission.
Because you don't know the steps, the process to do it.
Right.
And that's true with anything. If you're doing it for the very first time, it's like, oh,
I guess, sure.
What do I do?
The first time a guy went in and did brain surgery, he was probably pretty trepidatious, right?
I would imagine, yes.
So
I'm just glad it wasn't mine.
Right. I might have been the first victim. Maybe that's what's wrong with me.
No, Mike, that was lobotomy you're talking
okay,
about.
Right. Yeah. The old ice pick under the eyelid trick. Yeah,
Debbie, can you can
I'm just drooling
stew?
on myself.
Debbie, can you can stew?
Yes.
All right, we've got 26 seconds before the break. When we come back, can we talk about pressure canning, elderberry leaf brew, and then any other issues that you think would fall underneath that category? Because there's other stuff other than elderberry leaves I've heard that you can do that with. So.
Yes.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to America's Voice Now. Our special guest this morning is Debbie Slack with the Ozark Self-Reliant Living University.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
I had this illness that really made me powerless over alcohol, and that insisted that I got drunk. And so I got drunk. It doesn't have anything to do with trying to control it. An alcoholic who picks up the first drink will pick up the second drink. I can't say to anyone, no, don't drink. But I can say that when you decide you don't want to drink, come to AA. The door to AA is always open. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains from now until the end of April is offering an oil change special. 5 quarts of Napa fully synthetic motor oil and a Napa silver oil filter for just $19.99. Save up to $10 with mail-in rebate on wiper blades or spark plugs, and Seafoam motor treatment is only $6.79.
Out of 365 days a year, we celebrate holidays, anniversaries, and other important days. But there is one day you look forward to, your birthday.
I wish you a happy birthday.
Ryan's Steakhouse of West Plains is proud to bring you the Birthday Club weekday mornings with Cooper & Company. Our daily winner receives one buffet and a drink to Ryan's. Just call your birthdays in weekday mornings with Cooper & Company at 255-0427. Brought to you by Ryan's and the Ozark's Best News Talk.
And happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha-cha.
All right, we're back, and we are back again, joined by Deb Slack. Debbie is the purveyor of the Ozark Self-Reliant Living University, a top-notch grassroots school of education about self-reliance, self-sufficiency, how to do everything from make your own cheese to gardening to canning, dehydrating of food, cheese making, yogurt making, making your own bread, making your own soap and laundry soap. In other words, hand soap and laundry soap, tinctures, vinegars, herbal healthy living, how to can meatloaf. I didn't even know you could can meatloaf. And but my wife makes a very mean meatloaf, so maybe I need to get her down there and learn how to can some of that so that,
yeah, in
a pinch we've got it. So we wanted to talk about elderberry leaf brewing, and then also pressure canning. Now, by the way, the name of the company, I brought this out earlier, that's going to take pressure cookers off the market is Sonoma-Williams. They're saying that as a courtesy and out of respect, talk about politically correct gone completely amok, right?
Yes.
They're going to home good retailer Williams-Sonoma has pulled pressure cookers from their shelves in the aftermath of the Boston attack. It's a temporary thing out of respect, they say. So here's my suggestion, America. Get yourself a pressure cooker, even if you can now or don't know how to can or even not sure if you want to can, go buy yourself a pressure cooker anyway and consider it an investment in your own butt.
Yeah.
How's that for real blunt?
There's so much that you can do with it, and it's very, very important. Most people don't realize that less than 75 years ago, our grandparents had a year's worth of food at their fingertips at all times.
Right.
And the reason being is that grocery stores only came into fashion after World War II. There were no grocery stores.
Right.
If you didn't have it in the pantry, in the root cellar, you didn't have it. You starved.
Well, with good reason, too. Don't forget, we didn't have refrigeration until after World War II.
Exactly.
And so stores didn't have the ability to store goods like they do today. Everything that, you went into the Emporium and you bought dry goods, which was a bag of beans, a bag of rice, right? You didn't buy a frozen piece of meat because they didn't have any way to do that. So if you didn't can, you didn't eat.
That's true.
So, okay, elderberry leaf brew.
Well, the way that I have heard that you do it and is that several ways. You take a quart jar and you fill it full of about half full of elderberry leaves, and you fill the rest of it up with water, cap it off tight, sit it in the sun, and let it stew in that solar energy. It makes it more powerful. It helps release all the toxins and so forth. I mean, not toxins, but release all the things that you would need as the pesticide. Then what you do after it's sat in the sun for on a hot sunny day for a day, you take that and you add it to a 5-gallon bucket of water, and you let that sit out in the sun for a few hours, and all the juices kind of marry and so forth. Then you put that in your sprayer, and you can use that as a bug spray. It's very effective, and it's non-toxic to us humans and to animals and
sure.
So it's really.
So if your livestock breaks in and commits garden treason, they're not going to die too?
I don't think so. No, I think your animals would be just fine.
Right.
Although I have to watch our little dog, our little Dotson, because she eats all my green beans.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's because that dog looks like a green bean. That's that long, skinny thing.
Yes, she loves green beans. She eats them just as they come out of the ground, and she also eats them off the plant themselves. So
sure,
I have to watch her. The lady asked about canning butter.
Yes.
The USDA will not approve canning butter, but it's perfectly safe, and there are
Which stands to reason that if they don't approve it, it's probably okay to do.
Yeah, it's probably okay.
Is there any thought process there, Debbie, about why they won't approve it?
I think it's CYA.
I got you.
Kind of a situation.
Yep, got it.
And if it's sealed properly and you go through the process of canning it adequately, there shouldn't be any problem with it. Our grandparents canned butter for 100 years, and suddenly it just says, wow, maybe we should just say we shouldn't do this. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they just don't want us to stockpile butter.
Right.
Or provide for ourselves. It's another reason another excuse to say, oh, you can't do this anymore.
Sure. If they got to keep you going back to the grocery store, they own you.
Right, yeah.
Now, you'd mentioned, to me, canning was always the kind of thing that I got nervous about because I've heard, you can get botulism or something else. And, maybe that's the rarity. Is it? Is that, what are the facts about canning? Can it be dangerous?
No, I disagree.
Okay.
If you wash your jars in very hot water, and I like to wash my jars and then boil them, or you can put them on a cookie sheet and stick them in the oven for
at like
heat
200
your oven
or
up
something?
to about 350. Put your jars in there and leave them in there for about an hour so they're very, very hot.
Gotcha.
Bring them out and then hot pack your food in your hot jars with clean utensils, a clean kitchen. You're not going to have any problem. Boil your lids before you put them on your jars, and then place your jars in the canner. I have never heard of anybody being sick with botulism, ever.
Really?
And I know a lot of canners my whole life. I have never heard of anybody having a problem. I think it's just something that may happen on a very rare occasion.
Or if the seal's been broken on it while it was
well,
in
then
storage.
Don't eat it. If the seal's broken on it, then feed it to the dogs.
I got you. And if they don't die, then you can eat the rest.
All right.
I didn't say that about them poor little poochies, did I?
No.
All right, we've got a couple of quick calls we're going to take here. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, did you know you're off the air?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but my radio's up full blast right now, and it's right next to me. And right after she said they don't want us to stockpile butter, there was a long beep, and it's been silent ever since then.
Okay.
I told you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know what that is all about because everything here tells me we are. Well, let's continue on because it's recorded anyway. So let's finish our topic because we've only got a couple of minutes left. So what we were the other question I had about canning is there a way to cold can?
Yes, it's called cold packing. And once again, you do your jars the same way. You have sterilized jars, and you this cold packing is like putting when you put fruit in your jars that you're going to can.
Yeah.
With fruit or pickles or anything like that, and that.
Does that include like making jam and things like that? Is that done? Is that a cold process or a hot process?
Jam is hot. It's a hot process. Slaw and pickles are cold process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and is there any greater risk to doing it cold over hot?
No. It processes for the same, you process it the same amount of time, whether it's cold or hot. If you have, once again, see where botulism comes from generally is from a dirty surface somewhere coming in contact with the food.
I got you.
And if your jars are clean, if your hands are clean, if your utensils are clean, then there should be very, very little problem or scare over it at all.
Debbie, I got a question. How long, when you can something, how long will it last?
I have known canned foods to be good 15 years after they're canned.
Wow.
Really?
They may discolor a little bit depending on how much the sunlight has gotten to them. They may have, the appearance may have disintegrated or, changed a little bit, but the food itself is still good.
Wow,
and
that's
most
incredible.
Most of the time it still tastes the same.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And it's important to keep it in a dark, cool place.
A dark, cool place. Okay, and it's really funny because after Hurricane Katrina, I went down to Louisiana to visit my cousin, and we got to the house, and she wasn't there. And me and my buddy, rooting around, in the pantry,
right,
I found some canned jellies that she had made, and we broke them out and were ralphing them down. And then she showed up, and we were like, hey, we broke into your pantry, and we've been eating all of it. And she's like, oh, my gosh. She's like, I made that stuff 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And, boy, it was great.
Yeah, especially preserves and jams because the sugar acts as a preservative, and it will keep for many, many years.
We've got one other caller that wants to talk about the cheese class today. Go ahead, caller.
The cheese class today was initiated by Dwayne Dawson. People probably know him because he teaches cheese making at the Goat Club in West Plains every year.
Yeah.
And he's going to make ricotta and mozzarella, and Dawn's going to make cheddar and Swiss. And I think she's got a new Colby Jack that she might show us how to make too.
Awesome.
That's it.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that, sharing that information with us. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, folks, that's a wrap for our show today. I appreciate all of you joining with us and listening with us. Thank you so much, Deb, for participating with our program this morning. You're an asset to the community and an asset to our show and our station, and I'm grateful and appreciative for what you do for America. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for having me on.
I'm blessed to have had you. So, okay, folks, you can get a hold of Deb there's a couple of different ways. I'll give them to you again real quick. If you want to send her an email, you can do that at deb@osluniversity.com. That's deb@osluniversity.com or 417 417-264-2435. That's 417-264-2435. Deb, thanks again.
The name of our classes is called Ozark Self-Reliant Living University.
Outstanding. Thank you, sweet.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. President Obama says Congress voting to end forced furloughs for air traffic